Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's now 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company on this Monday morning, 23rd day of September, 43 days away from Election Day. Although, of course, as we know, Virginia in the midst of voting as we speak, early voting. Who needs this much time to vote?
Right.
I mean, again, these are the rules. So Republicans, bank your vote now, get it done, and then you won't get any more annoying phone calls. That's my favorite messaging right now. It's like, why should I vote early? So we stop bothering you.
Yes.
It's brilliant. And okay, done. Coming up at 7:35, Neil Parrott running for Congress in Maryland. 8:05 brings us Ned Ryan, author of American Leviathan, The Birth of the Administrative State and Progressive Authoritarianism and How to End It, which is really what we're going to focus on with him. 8:35, we'll speak with the Washington Post sports reporter Cindy Boren on tonight's Commanders game. That's Julie Gunlock. I'm Larry O'Connor, and here comes Joe diGenova. Are you ready for Joe diGenova? Joe, first, I'd love for you to comment on something that, I mean, it is political, but it's not really a legal thing. It's Kamala Harris's decision to skip the Al Smith dinner. And we talked about it early in the program, but for those joining us now, can you sort of lay out why this is an important dinner, not just for Catholic Charities and for the Archdiocese of New York, but the message it sends about our political leaders sort of having this moment 2 weeks before the election to send a signal to the American people that, we have differences of opinion, but we can get together and have a dinner together?
Well, Larry, the Al Smith dinner is the quintessential political event in the United States of America. It is an iconic event. It stems from Al Smith, the famous governor of New York, who was an Irish Catholic who ran for president and was defeated in no small part because of anti-Catholic bigotry. The dinner was formed to honor him as a result of that. It is the biggest political event in New York. Anybody who wants to be somebody attends this dinner, and it is noted for its political repartee, its humor, its banter, for being quick on your feet. As the University of Alabama coach said of his players, I want them agile, mobile, and hostile. And this dinner reflects the brilliance of American politics and coming together in unity and shared political values. And Kamala Harris is not going to go out of fear because she can't handle that. This is a moment that says more about her than anything else she has done. She's scared. She can't handle the Al Smith dinner. Good God.
Kamala Harris is trailing Trump when it comes to Catholic voters. And I think, Catholics do show up to vote. Why would her campaign risk insulting all of these Catholics out there, who many of which are undecided? What is the calculation here? Is it just really bad decision making on the part of the campaign, or I'm trying to understand the strategy at play here.
All of the above. They are trying to hide her. Remember, this is the Biden basement strategy all over again. Every politician that you know who is a normal person wants to attend large political events that are widely attended and widely respected. She doesn't want to go there. Now, why would you not want to go there? And the answer is, you can't handle the event. She's a lightweight. I don't call her dumb because she's not dumb. She's conniving. But you can be a lightweight and still be conniving, and that's what she is. This is stupidity of the highest order. But besides that, it's cynical. They actually believe that Catholic votes don't matter. She thinks Catholic voters are dumb. And by the way, Catholic voters have demonstrated an ability to be quite dumb over the years, supporting a lot of Democratic candidates. Yes. So she may be right in her assessment of traditional Catholic voters. But the bottom line is this: the appearances of it for the rest of the political elite in that room are that she just can't handle it, that she's a lightweight. She doesn't want to be there and banter and repartee because she can't.
Yeah, it's actually something that Trump is very good at, too, and the contrast will be quite stunning. Is there also something else at play here, Joe, if I could, that I think that the dehumanizing of Donald Trump continues here, and by appearing at this dinner and even pretending to respect Donald Trump and show up at the same, they actually sit the candidates basically next to each other on the dais there, and trade sort of verbal barbs with him in this way, humanizes him. It actually sends the message to the rabid anti-Trump voters who she's relying on that Donald Trump isn't that bad.
You're absolutely right. It's the symbolism of the dinner. That's what she can't stand it. She's frightened of it. And by the way, she's 5'4" tall. She doesn't want to be in a room with tall people. Let's face it. Part of her problem is her diminutive stature. And to be seated there, they're going to have to give her a high chair because she wouldn't be able to sit up at the table. The bottom line is this. She mentally cannot handle the Al Smith dinner. And this is, I salivate at the thought of being given an opportunity to speak at the Al Smith dinner. I mean, I can picture you there, Larry. I can just see you there getting up, having a wonderful moment that'd be in your.
Oh my gosh, it would be a dream. It would be a dream.
Now, think of this just for a second. A politician who is running for president says, I'm not going to the Al Smith dinner in New York with the cameras from all over the world in attendance.
Yep.
Every major leader in the country, bankers, lawyers, doctors.
And 2 weeks before the election day, it's like a chance to sort of leave this great sort of seal on the campaign and sort of send this final image and message. It's crazy. It's insane.
Humanize yourself.
Yes.
Humanize yourself. And by the way, Larry, what you said is really what's most important. People get a chance to see these guys and gals in a humorous setting, and it humanizes them, which is the antithesis of what the Democrats have been doing since 2015, which is to dehumanize Trump, to delegitimize him, and to demonize him.
Joe.
They are directly responsible for the assassination attempts on his life. And all of this nonsense from these idiots on CNN and elsewhere that none of that's true is ludicrous. If this were a Democrat being subjected to this, who had been subject to 2 assassination attempts, one of which struck him with a bullet, the press would be all over this. And you're right, by the way, about them ignoring this on the Sunday shows, not wanting to talk about the second attempt. They will not be happy until Trump is dead.
That's right. And Joe, we just talked to Kurt Schlichter. He wrote a column recently that, there was a survey done. 28% of Democrats think that it would be better off if Trump were assassinated, and another 25% are unsure. Can you imagine? There is a major problem in the Democrat Party.
Well, I think they're psychopaths. Yep. I mean, I don't have any problem. I mean, I used to think the Democratic Party was normal and everybody had political differences, but Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries have taught me differently. And let me just say this about Nancy Pelosi. At the State of the Union, when she tore up Donald Trump's State of the Union address, that was the beginning of the violence against Donald Trump. That was a violent act. People should never forget that. That was one of the most disgraceful acts ever committed by a member of Congress. She should have been expelled for Congress for it. At a minimum, she should have been censured. Can you imagine the Speaker of the House tearing up the official address delivered to her on the State of the Union? Nancy Pelosi is a thug, a San Francisco thug. She started the violence. She's directly responsible for it. Sure. And Hakeem Jeffries, when he gave the gavel to Kevin McCarthy, gave one of the most violent, vitriolic speeches ever given on the floor of the House. He has all of this at his feet, and he doesn't care because he's another thug.
Joe diGenova, thank you, sir. I appreciate it when you bring the heat on a day like this. We need it. Thanks, Joe.
You bet.
WMAL. Making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We love celebrity dirt, pretty much, and scandals of a tawdry kind. And when they intersect, those celebrity media tawdry sex scandals intersect with politics. I mean, come on. Surprised we haven't talked about this all morning,
I know.
actually.
I know.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., apparently, another Kennedy, doing what Kennedys do.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, it's not like he put this girl in a car and drove into a lake or anything. Or, for that matter, theoretically, it appears he didn't touch this woman. This is a sexting scandal of sorts. Although I don't know how much he participated. Let's get to it. Political reporter Olivia Nuzzi, who writes for New York Magazine, has been taken off of the political beat by her employers because of what was described as an inappropriate, intimate relationship with RFK Jr. Now, let's be clear. It was, again, all electronic. It had to do with her phone and pictures. But my understanding is she kept sending provocative photos of herself to him. I don't think there's any evidence that he replied in kind.
No, and in fact, he has responded by saying, this woman is obsessed with me. I didn't ask for these photos. Who knows? I mean, look, the guy has a record, okay? He's sort of a serial cheater himself. And
isn't she in her 20s?
I believe so.
And he's 70.
Well, have you seen him with his shirt off?
I don't care. He's still, that's like I'm outraged at that kind of age difference.
And she's engaged to another reporter. This is
Ryan Lizza.
Yes, this is where it gets juicy.
Yeah, you got to go past tense on that. She's not engaged anymore.
Right.
Ryan Lizza announced that she said, he goes, I won't be commenting on this, obviously, since it involves my ex-fiance. It was like...
And he is the one who ratted her out, apparently, too.
It appears that he discovered these photos on her phone. He delivered them to Oliver Darcy, who is a left-wing, hatchet man, media reporter who up until a few months ago was working for CNN.
That's right.
CNN fired him or laid him off or whatever. So he started his own one-page sort of blog newsletter thing.
We can't figure out who would ever...
But no one really follows it at all. But he had this whole blockbuster thing, exclusive, Olivia Nuzzi, RFK. And then suddenly, who picks it up and puts it on cable news? Oliver Darcy's old boss, Brian Stelter, who's now back at CNN.
Yep.
And so it's like three persons removed.
Yeah.
And Stelter just said, well, it was out there. I just decided to put it out there.
Decided.
And Ryan Lizza also is a CNN contributor, isn't he? I believe.
I
think
so.
This is CNN's way of getting the story, but not directly from him. It's just so tawdry, so petty. It's high school drama.
Love it.
And it's fantastic.
Well, and meanwhile, Cheryl Hines, who's RFK Jr.'s wife, has been seen around town without her wedding band. So it could be curtains for that.
That's an LA thing. They don't wear wedding bands all the time out there in that town. But you never know. You never know. Apparently, he bragged about having these photos, and he was showing it, RFK was, and said, hey, you know that writer Olivia Nuzzi? Take a look at what she sent me.
Oh, dear.
Well, that's why, kids, you don't send nude pictures of yourself.
Yeah, what is she? She's 17? What is she doing?
Yeah, 721. I have been informed by reliable sources that this reporter, this woman at New York Magazine, who has been caught up in a sexting scandal with RFK Jr., where she was sending tawdry, naked photos of herself to the 70-year-old Democrat independent politician. Apparently, her name is not Olivia Nuzzi. It's Olivia Nuzzi.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Either way.
She's a little nutty.
And she's sending nudes. And she's sending nudes.
Now, this is the same reporter that broke into Corey Lewandowski's apartment. Do you remember this? His townhouse.
Really?
Yes. And she wrote about it. She admitted it.
Did she go through his drawers and stuff?
No, she said...
Did she boil a rabbit on his stovetop?
I'm not kidding you. She said, I stood at the door for 10 minutes, and then I'm knocking, nobody's answering. But after a while, I just touched the doorknob, and the door was open.
Oh, I do remember
this. I
this.
walked in, and I'm in his house by myself. So I took this photo of the quote on the wall. I peered around, but I didn't walk fully into the house. Then she texts her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend.
Ryan Lizzie.
I just walked into the house because nobody was answering the door, and he said it was probably illegal and that I should leave.
Yeah.
I mean...
So that wasn't breaking and entering.
It
was breaking, but not entering.
Oh, she entered.
I thought she said she just stood in the doorway.
She snapped a photo inside his atrium, so I think that counts.
So she's a little crazy,
little
cray-cray,
little nutsy,
little wild. But up until this moment, member in good standing of the mainstream media and legacy journalism.
Yes,
She's a star. New York Magazine. Love to see how much they paid her. And now they're doing a a third-party company is coming in to investigate this to get to the bottom of whether this violated any journalistic ethics, which really, sadly, I've buried the lead here. Apparently, journalists have ethics.
Oh, yes. Well, Trump didn't like her.
Yeah, Trump referred to her as what now? Unattractive and dumb, I believe.
Shaky and unattractive and dumb as a rock.
Can we just stop for a moment, though? RFK is like, dude's got game. Either that or she was just doing this to get an exclusive of sorts. At least, again, I mean, she may be nuts, Olivia Nuzzi, but at least she didn't get in the car with the Kennedy. That's, send
Not
nude
that
pictures
dumb.
to him, but yeah. 7:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Time is 7:36 here on O'Connor and Company, and we've got a Monday you wouldn't believe coming up at 8:05. Important conversation with Ned Ryan, whose new book, American Leviathan, sort of explains how we got here with the big, giant administrative state and, well, how we could actually end it. That's important, and that book is important. And then at 8:35, we'll get a preview of tonight's Commanders game, Monday Night Football, for your Washington Commanders, with the Washington Post reporter Cindy Bourne. I'm Larry O'Connor. That woman right there is Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. And joining us right now, as you know, we're focusing quite a bit on this election coming up 43 days from now. The presidential election is important. And in this area, local congressional races are very important. Virginia 7, Virginia 10 takes a lot of attention, but Maryland 6 is also critical. And as you heard from our guest last week, Andy Harris, a Republican from Maryland, it's probably the best chance they've ever had to get that seat in Republican hands. Joining us now is the congressional nominee for Maryland 6, Neil Parrott. Mr. Parrott, thanks for joining us, sir.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Julie.
And apparently the National Republican Congressional Committee just named you one of their, quote, young guns, which means this is one of those races that they're putting some attention on. What does that mean for you? Does that mean more money, more resources, more organizing so you can really, canvass the district and make sure everybody knows that they need to vote for Neil Parrott?
Larry, that's exactly right. We're one of 35 that the National Republican Congressional Committee is concentrating on. So just one out of 35, and that does mean some money is going to come our way, some support's coming our way. Very much needed as we're coming down. Like you mentioned, the elections are very soon. Actually, Maryland, they just sent out the vote by mail ballots on Friday, so people are going to be seeing those later this week.
Yeah, and listen, the NRCC does not do this unless they think they've got a very good chance, and they've got to be buoyed. You've got to be buoyed right now by this Gonzalez poll that came out, 2 weeks ago or a week ago. You're leading at 41-39 right now in the district over April Delaney, with 20% still undecided. So what do you need to say to these undecided voters?
Well, let me tell you, it's very exciting. The Gonzalez poll shows us ahead. The NRCC has put us on their Young Guns program. They're supporting us now. Unaffiliated people who are undecided voters, they just need to make the decision. They should look between me and my opponent. They know that we need a new direction for our country. These last 3 years have been a disaster. We need to bring inflation down. I will work for that. I'm an engineer. I have an MBA. I have practical solutions. We need to have more jobs, especially manufacturing jobs in Western Maryland. I'll work for that, have a plan for that. We need to secure the border. My opponent doesn't care. She just wants to keep it open like it is. Or she thought that a bill that they had that was like a compromise bill that the Democrats thought was a compromise was fine. I don't think it's fine. That bill said 5,000 illegal aliens every day can cross that border and still not keep it secure. That's completely unacceptable. We have to secure the border. People, when they look to see who they should decide, they also need to look at local issues. Who cares about and who knows, actually, what the local issues are? Montgomery County, I believe that we need to have term limits for the county executive. 2 terms is enough. That's the same as the county council has. I support that. Frederick County, there's a power line project that's going through. I completely oppose that project. As an engineer, I know there are much better solutions than this power line they're proposing, yet my opponent thinks it's fine. She just thinks we need to talk more about it. I don't think we need to talk. We need to stop it and move to something that's actually going to work. I mean, I know this district. I've been a delegate for 12 years. So you want someone with experience who on day one can go in and actually help this district. Parrott, I'm the person to do that job.
Mr. Parrott, you are also a traffic engineer, and you're going to represent a district that really deals with a lot of traffic, as opposed to April Delaney, who actually worked in the Biden-Harris Commerce Department. So she, you could say, is partly responsible for this horrible economy that we're all living in. But tell us about how you would use your experience as a traffic engineer to help some of those folks who commute all around the state.
In fact, they're sitting on 270 right now, waiting to hear your answer.
Well, Julie, that's a great point. As a traffic engineer, I was involved in the I-270 multimodal corridor study when I worked at the State Highway Administration for Maryland. We're talking over 20 years ago. This road should have been widened 20 years ago. People are still sitting on there today. Governor Hogan had a plan to widen it where we'd have express toll lanes that are tolled, and the existing lanes would all be free. It was a great plan. Virginia has already done it. They did it with Republican leadership. They did it with Democrat leadership. They got it done. And yet Westmore came in, killed the project. April Delaney, my opponent, supports killing the project. I don't. We need to have I-270 widened. I-70 actually phase 4. I talked to the Hogan administration to add that in. It's really needed. Everybody knows that if they go through on a Friday afternoon, it's just a total bottleneck. Phase 4 of I-70 project would have taken care of that as well. But there are more projects. I-81 in Washington County needs to be widened. US 219 needs to have a connection in Pennsylvania to make it a really viable north-south route, which would alleviate some traffic from I-81 as well. So there are a lot of things that we can do in this region from a traffic viewpoint that when people send me to D.C., they know that I'm going to be working on those to actually help remove the gridlock and the congestion tax that we have right now.
I find it fascinating. Have you seen David Trone anywhere, by the way, the current congressman from Maryland 6? I'm afraid he's like, should we put a life alert wellness check out on him? He's nowhere to be found. Not that he did a lot of work for the last 2 terms anyway in that district, but he's April Delaney is certainly not asking to have him campaign for him. I haven't seen him around unless you know something I don't know. It's a very weird race they're running over there.
No, he's not. As far as I can see, he's not there helping with this campaign, which I understand. Anyway,
Wait, I'll say it for you. If you were April Delaney, you wouldn't want David Trone campaigning for you either. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure that David would campaign for her. That's what I was going to say. Look, April Delaney is the wife of John Delaney, who was the congressman.
Right.
He was more of a moderate. However, let me just assure not assure, but let everybody warn all the listeners here. She is not a moderate. She is not anywhere close to her husband.
This is not your father's Delaney. No.
Exactly. No, it was part of the Biden administration and caused a lot of the mess that we're in right now.
Yeah. All right. We're going to leave it there. But Neil Parrott is your candidate there in Maryland 6. It is tighter than tight. Right now, latest poll shows Neil Parrott leading the race, but 20% undecided. You got to start telling your friends. You got to knock on doors. Go to neilparrott.org. That's 2 R's, 2 T's. Neil, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks, Julie.
It is 7:43. A little public service announcement here. If anybody is doing international travel or such.
Also the feel-good story of the day.
This is more ripple effect from the really weird product defect that certain members of a political organization in Lebanon experienced with their pagers, right? It's like, I mean, you talk about a recall of an electronic device. It's like, kaboom, all these pagers are blowing up in people's front pockets.
Yeah.
Causing a
fertility issue.
Sure. And then the next day, the walkie-talkies. Same day. What are the odds? And it's all part of the same little organization there, this Hezbollah group. Well, here's the latest.
We love this
fallout from this Qatar Airways. This is the Qatari. It's supposed
official
to be
airline.
It's supposed to be very, very nice.
Very
airline,
swing,
right? Them and the Emirates, Fly Emirates.
Yes.
Right? You always see that. They have made an announcement here. I'll just read it to you because again, public service. If you're doing any international travel, effective immediately. Following the directive received from the Directorate General of Civil Aviation of the Republic of Lebanon, all passengers flying from Beirut International Airport are prohibited from carrying pagers and walkie-talkies on board flights. This ban applies to both checked and carry-on luggage as well as cargo and will be enforced until further notice. Well, that's probably a good precaution.
Yes.
It's probably just to play it safe. Or wait a second, I got another idea. Maybe Qatar Airways and everybody flying in and out of Beirut International Airport could go the extra mile and make sure that they're not letting terrorists on their planes.
Yeah, I have another idea. How about stop being a terrorist?
There you go.
You'll be able to keep your fingers and other parts.
This continues to be just the most wonderful story. And meanwhile, I don't know if you saw this, Leon Panetta, who, by the way, signed the Hunter Biden laptop letter, so he should be publicly shamed and humiliated every day of his professional life. But of course, no, CBS News turned to him as this expert to offer his opinion about this brilliant, isolated, targeted attack that we will never know really who executed this amazing attack with the pagers, but one can presume that they may have been affiliated with the Israeli military. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Could have been Fatah for all we know.
Leon
Panetta on CBS Sunday morning basically called this a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Likened the Israelis to Hezbollah.
Yeah.
And
This
said
man
that this
has
is
no shame.
shame. This is so disconcerting. This is an escalation. This is
absolute
This
nerve.
was the most brilliant target. What can Israel do? Israel wants to drop a bomb on Hezbollah headquarters, and they're told, "Oh, you can't do that. There will be."
Israel takes Herculean measures to avoid hurting civilians.
As targeted as it possibly could be. You don't get more targeted than a little 2-inch pager in the front pocket of these guys.
That's right.
And then this is outrageous. You can't do that. That's horrible. Again, the answer, the only solution, which it would have been nice to hear from Leon Panetta is, maybe Hezbollah shouldn't be in the Hezbollah business.
Yeah, again.
Maybe they should stop being Hezbollah, and then that would solve this.
And meanwhile, the Biden-Harris campaign, or rather administration, keeps saying, "Oh, well, we need a deal. We need a deal," which the Israelis have agreed to, and the Americans have agreed to, a dozen or so times.
Over and over again.
Hamas and Hezbollah, nope, or they agree to it and then they pull back. I mean, this is absurd.
Yeah. Jerry Dunleavy, a great national security reporter, he was with the Examiner, and then I'm not sure where, but he wrote the book about Kabul, about the Abbey Gate disaster. He replied to this Leon Panetta thing perfectly and beautifully. Sabotaging comms devices belonging to Hezbollah military officials and terrorists and targeting those officials and terrorists isn't terrorism. It's the opposite of terrorism. It's neutralizing terrorism.
Right.
Anyone surprised by a respected guy like Panetta saying this shouldn't be? He signed the BS Hunter Biden laptop letter and burned any credibility. Well, apparently not, because CBS News still thinks he has credibility.
CBS News doesn't have any credibility.
And the Leviathan in this town thinks he has. And I don't want to do this, but I feel like we must, because I was in favor of the Iraq War when it started. I was in favor, I think, right? Does anyone remember shock and awe?
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the weeks-long bombing of Baghdad at the time and the kind? I mean, listen.
I'm sorry, we don't even have to go back that far. Does anybody remember October 7th, which we are about to come upon?
I recognize that
1 year anniversary.
No, I know.
I get it.
The point I'm making is we have such a double standard here.
I get it.
That Israel can't do this target that was specifically targeting Hezbollah terrorists. No, you're right. After October 7th, I think that Israel should have done shock and awe on the Gaza Strip.
Maybe if CBS News showed as much outrage about October 7th as they did about this targeted anti-terrorism measure by who knows who, but well done.
That said, if you're flying Qatar Airways, you might want to just, keep your head on a swivel. Because in a weird way, by making this announcement, aren't they sort of admitting that they are the frequent flyer choice for Hezbollah?
The airline of choice.
It's 7:53.